Okay, we're working on our ukulele that we're going to auction for Camp Westwind, and right now we're going to route for binding. So what that means is we've got these laminate trimmers that have a bearing and a bit, and I have one for each thing I do, so I don't have to change them very often, so they're always set up. So this will route a channel, a ledge, around the top and the back of this instrument where we can then glue on binding. I'm choosing with this instrument to not put an extra layer of decorative purfling inside that. That's like just another small decorative feature. I just want plain walnut binding. So I grabbed my router that's marked top binding, and I'm gonna go for it. And the back of instruments that I make are, remember, they're slightly domed. It's got a radius to it, so that means that the back binding router has got a bit of an angle to try to compensate for that. So let's do the back binding. So can you see the ledges now? And before we go start gluing that in, I'm just going to take some sandpaper and try to clean up some of this fuzz, because this is the tiniest little scrap will get in the way of a good binding joint. Okay. Let's go glue this on. Okay, we're going to get started doing the top binding here. The binding I get from Gurion is walnut, and then there's a decorative layer of black at the bottom. But as I said before, I don't want to use any layers of black on this instrument. I just want everything to be wood toned. So I'm going to actually put the black layer up, and then it'll sand and scrape off as we continue with the rest of the instrument. So one piece of this binding just barely can fit all the way around. So I want to make sure and mark a center line on this so I don't mess this up, because I usually start from the end graft and work around. So let's go this direction to start. Not all the way though. I'll show you why in a minute. Line up my center lines. And while you're doing this, the goal is to pull towards you and to push down. You gotta do both. So rub a little squeeze out for a few inches, then hold it in place with your fingers. And pull tightly with the tape towards you and push down. And I'm like holding the binding in where the next piece of tape will go as I work my way around. Slight more squeeze out, pull, push down. Now up here, the neck is going to cover, so I don't have to be spot on up here. We'll save that for the back binding, which has to be dead on. So we'll just finish this piece. Oops, a little drip there. Tape is actually kind of underappreciated as a clamping mechanism. There's lots of bits and pieces of building small things where tape is really the best bet. Okay, so now just for fun, I'm gonna practice as if this is like the back, where I'm gonna trim this so it fits just right. So I'll mark it with a pencil. I'm gonna cut most of it off with these flush cut pliers, and then the rest I will carefully pare back with a chisel. And this is why I didn't have glue right here before, because it just gets in the way when I'm trying to chisel and fit. We'll add the glue in just a moment. A little bit more. Okay, got it. Let's get the last piece of glue in there, last bit of glue in there. There. And the last thing we'll do is I'll look around the instrument and see if there's any places where it needs to be pulled down with another piece of tape. And look from above wherever I can, see if there's a place that needs a clamp or an extra piece of tape. Okay, so usually I would let that dry now, but with the little ukes or the Scout ukes here, I've been doing them the top and back all at the same time. Okay, now I'm paranoid. Can't mess this up, because the binding is just long enough. Okay. So much of what I do, you get like a physical memory for it and like a muscle memory for it, and it's just kind of like spidey sense about things. So all of my spidey senses are screaming at me right now about having the black decorative stripe facing up, because normally it would be facing down. But I just have to keep telling myself, like, nope, that's what you wanted. That's how you designed it. It's okay, Aaron. Okay, so this has to be a really choice chisel cut, because it's going to be visible. Yep, that's gonna fit just right. It's strange, you don't appreciate some of the tools you have until you think about how you used to do it. But like this tape dispenser is like a cast iron tape dispenser. It's a mid-century item. I don't think they make anything like this anymore. It probably weighs 3 or 4 pounds easy. So when you pull tape, it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't move around. So I can pick it up and move it, of course, but I just mean that it doesn't skate. And I used to not have a good tape dispenser, and so I would like have to line up little scraps of tape on the edge of my bench before I did this job, and that didn't help the sticking power. But I got it at a little garage sale right up the road from me. It's one of my favorite items. I'll show it to you when we're done. Okay, this is the hardest part. One more. If you go too far, there'll be a gap. I got it. So let's get some glue in there. Wipe the extra off. Last two pieces of tape.